the session now. So first and foremost, I would like to welcome and thank all of you for joining in today. Today I have a very, very interesting session for all of you. The title of today's session is The Discipline of Customer Acquisition via Social Media. If you look at various list of objectives that for which businesses are leveraging social media, be it brand management, online reputation management, customer relationship management, and customer acquisition, in my opinion, customer acquisition is the most challenging one, especially when you have to do it on a sustainable basis. And today's session is actually about that. In today's session, we'll discuss what it takes to successfully institutionalize customer acquisition via social media. And we have with us Mohit Garg. Mohit is a product manager at Adobe. He's handling Adobe Social. Welcome, Mohit. Just to give you a little background, Adobe Social is one of the product in the Adobe Marketing Cloud suites of product, and it is fundamentally used to build stronger connection through content across all social media channels that is guided by tangible data. So before we move on to this session, let me just set the logistics for those of you who are joining in for the first time. Right now, all of you are muted. So at any time during the session, if you have any question, please feel free to type your question in the question panel. We'll have a presentation for about half an hour, and then we'll have an open Q&A, and we'll try to take all the questions that you would be posting in chronological order. That's it from my side. Over to you, Mohit. You can start the session now.
Thank you, Kapil. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the discipline of customer acquisition by social media. The world is changing. We all talk about digital marketing, but seemingly it is clear that it's not really digital marketing. It's about marketing in a digital world. The number of devices each one of us has today is exploding, right? I have 3 devices, and I'm sure each of you have more than one as well. So increasingly the world is becoming more digital, and it is, we need to learn how to market in this digital world. In terms of, customer acquisition in the digital arena, there are multiple channels, right? We have email, we have search, we have display, social, mobile, and so on. And each of these channels has their own discipline and process, and you need to follow that to be successful. For example, when you look at email marketing, we talk about open rates, we talk about the content of the email, the subject of the email, whether it's going to the junk spam, so click-through rates, and all those metrics. When we talk about SEO or SEM, and we talk about page rank, talk about keywords, ranking, bidding, CPC, and so on. Same, similar metrics exist for display ads, A/B testing, retargeting, and so on. And even though mobile, we have all those 160 character SMSs and all those new form of mobile advertising coming in. But coming to social media, do we really understand what discipline do we need for social media success? Are those are we measuring it in the right way? Are we doing it the right way? And this is what we will talk about in today's session. Before we jump into social media and how we measure, sure.
Yeah, Mohit, can we do that poll that you suggested me? I just forgot about it. You want to? Or whenever is the right time, let me know. Just launch it. Is this the right time?
You think we can just go ahead and send it out, and we can take the result.
Okay, great. So, just to set the context right, this is something that we actually want, and I think I'll display the result for all of you as well. So we've launched this question in front of you. What KPI do you usually use to evaluate your social media initiatives? And there are 4 options. So whatever you are currently using to evaluate your social media activity in your organization, just select those options over here, and that would actually set a good context to the overall discussion.
Right.
So we'll take just another 20 seconds. All of you please complete it so that we can move on. So far got 50% of you responded. Guys, please complete it fast and then we'll move on. Couple of you yet to provide your input. If you could do it. Great. So I'll just share the results. Mohit, here are the results. Mohit, can you see the results?
No, sorry.
Okay, so I'll just speak it out. 28% have said number of followers or fans on page. 49% have said reach and engagement on my post. 19% have said number of links clicked generated through my post. And 55% have said number of visitors, leads, and sales generated through posts.
Great. I think that's good data, and we'll talk about it as we go through our discussion today. So, so coming back, right? Right. So, we talked about, do we really understand the discipline? Do we have the right questions in place, the right process to be able to understand what makes us successful in social media? Before we jump into specifics, I just want to take a step back and see what social media is all about. At times what we do is, we fail to understand the medium, and when we don't see, results coming out, we tend to blame the medium, instead of figuring out what's really wrong in our process. Social media is different, right? It's different from most other marketing channels in the sense that it is conversational. It is about one-to-one conversations, it is about one-to-many conversations, and all your strategy in social media can be, clubbed into these three buckets, right? You have listening to conversations, you have influencing those conversations and moderating them, and generating your conversations or creating new posts around these areas, right? The other aspect is that, it has a very strong network effect. So it is, really the word of mouth that you see, in the physical world. It is in some sense a replica of that, right? And therefore it is very different from the traditional mass media marketing. And at times what we do is that, I've seen people who tend to not really understand or grasp this. We know this, but really understanding how this impacts me is something which is the next level detail, and we end up, going after things which are not necessarily the right metrics or the right way to look at our social media activities. And we'll talk about, how these things help us or, block us from achieving our objectives. So what does it really successfully, what does it take to acquire customers successfully via social media? Let's take a few examples, right? Blink is a loyalty program, which rewards members to, dine and shop from specific locations. They realize that they have a lot of people coming in via social channels, and people who come in via Facebook tend to spend, 58% more than other social channels. That's a very large number of, 58% uplift from people coming from Facebook. So they decided to focus exclusively on Facebook and, remove all the other social channels from their marketing campaign. And the results were outstanding, right? They were able to optimize and bring down the customer acquisition cost from $100 per customer to $20 per customer. And they were able to do that by diligently going after each part of their audience and identifying the target segment, making sure they target them very specifically, and overall make sure that they also spread the word of mouth by incentivizing people to share their posts or their offers across their friends. Then we'll take the next example as Tasty Khana. This is another leading online food ordering website in India. What they do is, they had a campaign across different channels wherein they were driving social conversations on Facebook and Twitter, and they had campaigns like gifting a meal or, New Year contests, sweepstakes, and targeted ads. Again, they were very heavy users of targeting. And the results again were very interesting. social was effectively used in a cross-channel campaign to increase the traffic on their website 5 times and double the customer acquisition rate, right? Again, the idea here is that if you focus and execute your campaign in the right way, there are results which are waiting for you at the end of the fight. Rajput Custom Motorcycles, this is a very different business. What they do is they assemble motorcycles, custom-made motorcycles for their customers, and it all started out from Facebook, right? They nurtured their community initially through Facebook. The idea here was to respond to each conversation, to be able to make sure they can connect with people who are following them or communicating with them through their Facebook page. And there was a time when they had 50% of their business coming via Facebook. That's a very large number. And again, the idea there was they were sharing relevant content and they were responding to customer inquiries, right? Engaging with customers, having those conversations around with them, and that helped again, build that network effect. And now they are on a roll, starting with their efforts and investments in the Facebook page that they had earlier. I'll take another example. This is Caesars Entertainment. This is a very large hospitality and entertainment company in the US, revenues of about $9 billion annual revenue. For them, social media is a very important customer acquisition channel. It has to be, because they're running these events and they want people to walk into their hospitality properties, their hotels, their resorts, their casinos, right? And so they were struggling to have a process around this. And once they figured out the right tools and the right metrics that they would want to invest in, they were able to increase their social visitors, the people coming in from social in as much as 13%, and that's in a couple of months. And that really tells you the power of the way you measure it, the way you optimize it, how you define your campaign KPIs. All of that becomes a lot more powerful if you have the right process and the discipline in place. Right, and these are not 4 fluke examples. I mean, all over the world, people are now beginning to agree that customer acquisition by social media is a real activity, is a real results generating process. So this is a recent survey which was conducted by one of the leading internet marketing companies. And what it says that 13% of all customers were acquired via social media in 2013. That's a very large number. 13% coming in via social media. And remember, social media is about 4 or 5 years old in the current form. Facebook started 10 years ago. So and if you look at this chart here, the company blog has about 43% of all marketers have acquired customers via the company blog, whereas Facebook is giving them more than 50%. More than 52% marketers, have acquired customers via Facebook. So essentially, it is doing much better than your company blog in terms of getting you access to new customers. Another aspect which we talked about earlier in terms of the network effect. This report also touches around that, and what they say is that there is an inflection point, right? Beyond which, if your reach on your social media is beyond a particular limit, that's going to really exponentially increase the traffic to your website. So as in most network effect situations, this is classic case wherein beyond a particular point there is an S curve, that jump which comes in. I just want to make sure that none of us is in any doubt that customers can be profitably acquired by social media. It is the norm today, and more companies are jumping onto it and being able to really get not only build a community around it, but really get new customers in terms of the bottom line business for your brand. The challenge which I see usually which people run into is, your ability to analyze, why things are working and why things are not working. More often than not, we see something working and we believe that, we've kind of cracked it and this is the way it should be. And the next campaign suddenly fails, and then we realize that, or maybe we didn't really understand the way and why it succeeded in the first place. So we need to really understand, what does it really take to successfully diagnose or analyze our successes and failures. And to do this, I think we need to again understand what social media is all about and what kind of tools do we have at our disposal to be able to achieve our objectives. Again, social media is different from most other marketing channels, right? It's fundamentally about content and data. You create content and you create content, a lot of content we pushed out to all these channels, and then each of these content pieces, or posts or tweets as we call them, they generate data around them, right? The number of the kind of engagement they've got, the kind of visitors that they've driven to our website, the kind of I mean all of that put together. So using that data, we again need to go back and optimize our content. So it's an interplay of data and content which we need to look at, and we'll pick up each of these separately now. So in terms of the content strategy that you are looking at, right? I mean, the questions that should clearly come to your mind is that, which social platforms should you be operating on? Look at Blink. Blink clearly understood that Facebook was the one that they would choose over all other platforms based on whatever data that they saw coming in for their users. You need to figure out which social platforms you want to be in. Do you really want to be in all of them, or do you want to focus on some of them and really optimize your presence on that? The first several questions obviously are that, are you a B2B brand or a B2C brand? Like Facebook usually doesn't really work well for B2B products, whereas for B2C it's supposed to be doing reasonably well. On the other side, right, how often do you post? There have been studies which have clearly demonstrated that the average half-life of content on Facebook is a few hours versus Twitter is a few minutes, right? What that essentially means is that half the number of engagement for any post on Facebook happens within the first 2 to 3 hours, whereas on Twitter it's the first 30 minutes. So essentially a post on Twitter would exist for at most 1 hour unless it is really a viral post which is amplified by thousands of people around the world. So this is important to understand that you need to post frequently, and each of these channels have a different cadence of posting. The other thing that we need to understand here is that social media is about building a community, right? You can't just go and say that I'm going to be doing a sales post every day, and I have a 20% off running today, 30% off running tomorrow, and continue to pump and hope that people will keep coming in, because that's not the content people are looking at when they come into your page every day. You need to have the right balance of promotional and engagement posts. You need to make sure that you have a regular cadence of engagement wherein you are talking to them regularly about stuff which they like, not necessarily directly related to your business objectives or your brand. In essence, nurturing the community, and then over time, making sure that you have the right opportunities to go back and promote whatever campaign you want to promote. And that's the strategy which I've seen usually working well for most of our customers. Right? Again, what kind of content do you post? So posting, the frequency of posting content is one. The next step is, what's the content mix that you have, right? Are you talking about topics which are trending today? Are you listening to stuff which your audience is interested in and creating posts around that? Is that if you're not doing that, I think you're missing a big opportunity to engage them very directly. The other stuff is that what topics is your audience really interested in, right? Is this something that you're going to talk about? For example, if you are let's say a Coke, right? Do you talk about cricket, or do you talk about your drinks, or promoting your drinks every day? So these are the kind of questions that you need to ask, and tools are available today to help you do that. And I'll show you a couple of things which we have in a very social which can help you create your content in a much better manner. Listening, right? You tend to listen to all of these different keywords, and the idea here is that we can tell you which keywords are being talked about the most by your audience, what topics we're talking about, right? What's the sentiment on that? What's the emotion on that, right? Is the audience sad about a particular topic, or are they happy about a particular topic? And you can use these insights to go back and create your content, which will then engage very well with them at the back. The other, stuff which, around content, which is the technologies have evolved to the state that even before you create your post and publish it on the social network, right, uh, um, you can get predictions on how this content will perform. For example, look at this post, right? I'm posting this post to an Adobe India page, and it tells me that it's going to get low likes, comments, and shares. So I may really look at my content again or check whether I'm posting it at the right time, from whether at that time audience is awake or not, right? So for example, I'm looking at this this window here, and it tells me that for better engagement, right, publish it on March 25th at at a certain time. So I'll use that, and it will hopefully improve my predictions of the content and how it works, right? So these are technologies which are available today for you. And for example, here that once I change that to recommended time, it tells me that I'll get higher number of likes than what I was getting earlier, right? So all of this is available today, and these tools help you not just to understand and publish better, but also what content you want to create. So social media is in a sense a very large content creation problem, and the more you can invest in your content creation workflows and strategies, I'm sure the better you can get at engaging with your customers and making sure they like what you say, and then at the end of the day, translating that into your business metrics. Right. Lastly, right, you need to optimize your content. You do that all the time for your email campaigns or your AdWords. Where do you place the link? What kind of button you want to put at, what image you want to take, what post types do you use. For example, if you're acquiring customers and putting out offers, it may be a good idea to use the Facebook offers functionality instead of just the Facebook usual post for people to share. Right. And again, in terms of targeting, most large successes which I have seen, they do a very good job at targeting their posts, right? With Facebook EdgeRank coming in, and it is changing every day, and the more and more we learn from it, the better you become, because the way it is going, the direction in which it is going is that each customer or each fan of yours on Facebook essentially has, will see your post at least, at most 2 times, and if they don't engage with it twice, they would, essentially never see your post again, because Facebook will read is that this person is not interested in your post, and therefore they will not rank it high in their newsfeed, and it just goes away. So it is important for you to create content which they are interested in, and then target it to the right audience, so that your engagement does not die because of a fan of your content not being interesting to your target audience. So that's on the content side, right? On the data side, again, it's all about measurement, right? What do you measure, and how do you measure it, right? And we talked about what KPIs we measure, right? And it is good to see that a lot of us have now started measuring visitors and leads and customers coming in. But I would would like to learn a lot more about what kind of tools you guys are using, and how you want to take this to the next level. 28% of us still using the fan count as a measurement. I think that's not something that I would recommend, because the number of fans is essentially means nothing for you today, right? Even in Twitter, right? Even though Twitter does not have a EdgeRank algorithm, they have the number of tweets coming into my newsfeed every day is so large that there is no way for me to read all of them, right? So it is not about fans. It is more about what kind of impact are they having on my business metrics, and maybe some bit about engagement, because at the end of the day, the more I engage with my fans, the better they would be in terms of responding to my campaign or offers coming out. The other piece is that how do you measure that what kind of conversions are your posts driving. We've seen a lot of these web analytics software today, which tells you the kind of conversions that are coming from social media, that are coming from Facebook, Twitter, or maybe LinkedIn. But I don't see any discussion happening around the post level conversion. So you can see as a chunk that X number of people came in from Facebook, but you really don't understand which particular campaign or which particular post they came in from, and then go drill deeper into how those people performed versus another. And again, all of these tools are available today, right? This is a campaigns report from Adobe Social, wherein I can go back and tell you which particular post drove what kind of revenue. For example, this post here drove about $51 of revenue, whereas some other post drove about $102 of revenue and 700 unique visitors to the website, right? So all of these tools are available today, and you should leverage these to make sure that you have your own understanding of how your posts perform, right? Because at the end of the day, as a social marketer, you're creating posts. You're not creating and that the post is your unit of activity essentially. So you should understand how that unit of activity is performing on the metric that you want to track. The other aspect of social media, which is again very important, is the word of mouth. So assume you have ways of determining and understanding how your posts are impacting your conversion, but how do you know how when your fans share something on their with their network, how does that impact your conversion, right? That's a very important metric to understand the virality effect into your conversion. And again, there are tools to do that today, right? I'll again take example of our product, wherein you can look at by each author, what kind of number of mentions that they've had of their keywords, right? The number of click-throughs that people have had on their posts, and the number of unique visitors and revenue that each of those have created. Again, this is the other part. This is the network effect and how that impacts your business metric is what what we're looking at from this particular report. Right. Again, all of this essentially boils down to two things, right? The process that you follow in terms of marrying content and data, and that how do you use the tools that you have to be able to optimize that relationship between content and data, right? And the better you are the better your tools are, and the more stringent your processes are, the better you would become at creating impact via the customer acquisition channel. So I mean, I'll just stop here and just summarize by saying that customer acquisition is a reality by social media, and we need both patience and the right tools to diagnose and fix our problems. It's not just about being able to measure, but that feedback loop of content and data, that's critical to be able to customize and do well in our customer acquisition strategies on social media. So I'll open up for questions now, and look forward to your comments.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot, Mohit. Really insightful information. I particularly like two things. One is the production stuff that you talked about, and secondly, the ability to track a post revenue generated through a single post. I'm sure a lot is needed at a back end to get that number, but definitely a lot is possible in business once that number is there. So a lot of people have asked the various set of questions, and we have good time. So what I'm trying to let's do it in a different way today. What we can do is I'll try to unmute some of you, and you can ask your question straight away. And I'll try to see if I can, we can choose in a chronological order. So Satish, I'm unmuting you. You were asking about the increase in the percentage ratio via social media for customer acquisition in 2014. So can you please restate your question, Satish Omeka? Satish, are you there? Is your mic working? Okay, I'll just read out his question. He wants to know, will there be an increase in the percentage ratio via social media for customer acquisition in 2014? I mean, in fact, this is something that I'm also observing, that in recent times, businesses' belief on Facebook page has come down in last year or so. Is there, I mean, what do you anticipate would happen in the coming year? Or is it that is something that restricted to the set of people that I've interacted with, or what's your take on that?
No, definitely, Facebook is clamping down on organic reach, is what, my understanding is as well. The only, thing there is that, social media as a bucket is not necessarily organic posts only. So it is definitely organic plus promoted content. From Facebook's perspective, they are, aggressively cutting down on the clutter on the fans newsfeed. So something like this is bound to happen, that uh, businesses which reach out to all of their fans and continue to bombard them will face a decline in the reach. However, in the long term, I think this will be beneficial, because if your fans are really engaging with you, they would definitely get to see your posts a lot more often than other brands. The other aspect is that Facebook is not necessarily clamping down reach; they're also helping brands. For example, they recently introduced something called Facebook tagging, wherein a brand can tag another brand. So in a sense, from one post you can reach out to fans of two different brands, multiple brands. So these are changes which will continue to happen, and it will be interesting to see how this evolves in the long term, because Facebook obviously is under pressure as well to deliver ad revenue, and one way that they can force brands to pay up higher is to cut down their organic reach and hope that they will end up promoting their posts. But that is, a way of reaching out to the fans. But social media in itself, I don't see that going back or going down at all. I think this number 13% will grow in the coming years.
Got that. So social media is going up, Facebook overall reach is going up, but organic reach is declining as of now, and we'll continue to see some changes in future. Great. Next question is from Sareem. Sareem wants to know, are customer acquisition through social media mostly towards industries that talk to retail customers, not B2B?
So, I mean, if you look at social media itself, Facebook is not the right channel, in my understanding, for a B2B play, right? For B2B, you should go to something like LinkedIn maybe. So, because social media is, a majority Facebook right now, at least that's what we hear most of the time, when more people are on Facebook than on any other channel. So we will tend to hear that more customer acquisition is on the retail side, on the B2C side. But I've seen case studies and examples where a lot of companies have done that very well on LinkedIn as well. So a lot of these large companies, especially companies which consulting companies, they have very strong influencer programs on LinkedIn, wherein they promote their internal people or their marketing people as influencers or as thought leaders on LinkedIn, and using that they generate a lot of business for themselves. So B2B is also a very big portion. It's just that the campaigns need to be very specific to the vertical they are looking at, and therefore are not necessarily widely reported.
Got it. Next question is from Aditi Sharma. You talked about keeping the right mix of promotional and informational content. So she wants to know, is 80-20 rule, which is 80% informative and educational and 20% promotional, still holds good, or is it a cliche now?
I mean, it would be difficult for me to comment on a specific number, not knowing the brand we're talking about. But yes, most of it today, most people want to do, 4:1 is basically 80-20 or 3:1, right? 3 posts on engagement and 1 post on promotion. And that's really the number that we've seen, because I mean, people, as a fan, right? If I start seeing an offer on every post from a particular brand, I would just unsubscribe. Right? That's unless I'm there for buying, or the brand itself stands for a deal brand. If it's a brand which is just a deal brand, or a brand which is known for discounts, then maybe yes, promotion is the only thing that they would want to do. But if it's not engagement, I'm sure their community will die out very soon. So it has to be a mix, and you have to choose the mix based on what you see. How your community responds to each of these, both of these, engagement versus promotion.
Got it. Great. So engagement is the key here. Next question is from Madhu. You showed us a lot of screenshot of Adobe Social. She wants to know, would like to know the cost of these tools. So is there some kind of a pricing information that you can share with us for Adobe
So we can
Social?
talk about it. I don't think this is the right time to share pricing. I think don't worry about pricing this stage, because I think it's important to see whether number one, this seminar is not around Adobe Social, but in case you definitely, if you're still interested, we should definitely connect and do a detailed demo to you and see if it fits in what you really want to do, and then we can discuss all of that.
Okay, great. In any case, we'll soon do a poll in which you can, if you're interested in this product, you can just mention yes over here and we'll receive a further information on email. Okay, so Junaid Ahmad, he wants to know what should be the ideal benchmark in social media for a brand in repair industry, which is a year old. So is there some industry specific benchmark in India done by anybody in general that we can look at?
So it depends on the size of your page, right? If, for example, a retail brand which is new versus, let's say Shopper Stop, I don't know if, that's a fair comparison. So you need to figure out, the way to do that is figure out whom you think you're competing with, and, and look at what they have been doing, and there are tools available for that. So there will be tools available wherein you can feed in their social pages, their Facebook account, Twitter account, LinkedIn account, and feed in yours. And then those tools will give you, how their content has been performing and how your content has been performing, and will give you all those interesting metrics. So if you can create a list of your own competition which you are tracking, these tools will give you a very good benchmark of where you should be and where you are today. These tools are definitely available, and you should surely do that because it will give you a sense of where you stand in terms of your investment or in terms of the outcome of the social media activity.
Great. Mohit, actually there are a lot of questions around which tool to use to measure social media. So if you could give us some generic overview in terms of for various organization size, how to think about, like for example, for me as Digital Vidya, if I have to go for an assessment wherein I can do a revenue based on the post, is it possible for me? What are the, like, if the whole landscape of tool, if you can create in front of all of us, that will be very good.
So, I mean, social media measurement, right? So, right, essentially, you should first decide what do you want to measure. What's your KPI? And don't worry about the tool, right? Because the KPI is independent of the tool at that stage. So, let's say you want to measure, let's say revenue, right? So, you want to measure revenue of your social media activities. And that's a fairly, good metric to have. So what you should then go back and see is, what parts of your activities do you want to measure revenue for? Because all your posts should not be revenue driven, because what you will end up doing then is you will end up doing promotion and not, be able to cultivate your community. So decide which posts or which campaigns or which sections of your social media activities you want to measure via on the revenue KPI, and then go back and figure out what tools you can use. And there are various tools again available. The ideal tool would be something which links directly to your revenue analytics, and if that's on an online store, essentially it ends up being your web analytics, right? So if your social media solution or whatever tool you're using, if there's a way for you to link that back to your web analytics, that will be the ideal solution to use for your need. In terms of there will be again different levels of these solutions. So there will be solutions which will help you measure just the organic engagement or just the link clicks. And a lot of people use link clicks as a proxy of number of visitors, and that link clicks are usually available through your URL shorteners like bit.ly and and things like that. So those are something that you can try to just get started on measuring the number of visitors or visits, at least some estimate of that. And based on, and over time, once you mature your processes and if you're ready to invest in a larger scalable solution, you should go ahead and explore those options as well. And about Adobe Social, when we started, so this is the first question we asked, right? What KPIs do brands look at? And in terms of that, the answers which we got were very clear, right? People want to do engagement, but increasingly large number of people also want to understand the ROI of their social media activities. And in that, we looked at all kinds of different ways in which we can measure that, and we realized that if we tie into the web analytics and figure out how a particular post is performing, that's the right way to give that result to the social media marketer. Right? So this is essentially the campaigns report which we have, wherein the revenue is, and any metric which you want to measure is essentially available to you for every post, over and beyond the platform engagement metric.
Great. So next question is from Ashish. He wants to know what about different devices and mobile impact on social media? So what's your views on that?
So I think that's a very good question. We've seen, at least Facebook and Twitter are seeing a lot more interaction or traction from mobile users. So more and more people are with the smartphone becoming, very, very prevalent today. We're always logged into these channels, right? With the notifications coming in, people tend to respond a lot more often and go back into these different apps and engage with their friends and family and brands. For Facebook, what we've seen is that the mobile channel has become a lot more important than it was 2 years ago, and Facebook stock price right now is at an all-time high, and that's primarily because of their investment or their kind of results that they're seeing on the mobile side. And I mean, another thing that you need to be cognizant of while creating content these days is is that content something which can be consumed on a mobile phone. For example, if you have a link embedded in your post, and that link, somebody clicks on that link, but comes to a website which is not optimized for mobile, it essentially is a waste, because when somebody wanted to go and check out your link, because the website is not optimized for mobile, it either doesn't load, or it loads very slowly, or it loads in a really, really bad experience for the user. So your entire effort of creating that post goes for a toss. The same with videos, right? Brands share videos on these networks. We should be cognizant of the fact that video plays on mobiles may not be as large as on the desktop. So these are things that you should keep in mind while creating these posts, because a lot more consumption is happening on mobile today than it was a couple of years ago, and the trend will go up in the next few years as well.
Great. So the next question is from Mithu Aditya. He wants to know how impactful is cross-platform social media promotion. These days, this is a whole buzzword around omni-channel marketing. So, I mean, how effective it is, and how to really go about it.
So I think again that's a good question. So integrated approach to marketing, at least on the digital side, is something that a lot of people are talking about. So what usually, if you look at all social media posts, you can typically classify that into two pieces, right? One is the regular content and other activities which are only social for you for cultivating a community, which is broadly called engagement. The other is what we call promotional campaigns, wherein there is a large spending event which the company is engaging outside the social world usually, right? For example, it may be a sale running for a retail store, or a conference for a B2B company, or some sort of webinar, or some sort of an event, or any other activity, maybe a large TV campaign. Take the example of Satya, right? They have a very large TV campaign and a lot of posters around the cities and even on radio, and they have a very large push around that on social media. So in that places, in those places, social media is doing an amplification of the message which all of these other channels are working on. In terms of the one-to-one marketing on social media, there are ways to do that. For example, if you have CRM database of all your customers, which are and the CRM is socially enabled, and you have all the Twitter handles maybe, or the Facebook accounts or LinkedIn accounts of your users, you can go back and check in terms of what is really what they really are interested in, and then go back and use that data to personalize stuff to them, and maybe when they call up in your call center, give them better service around that. So social media is definitely both an input to the omni-channel marketing, and also something which is can help amplify your cross-channel campaigns across your audience.
Great. So guys, a lot of other questions as well. While I'm taking up all these questions, I'm just launching this poll on your screen. If you are interested in using Adobe Social for your organization, you can just mention yes over here, and we'll forward your contact details to Adobe, and then they'll contact back. So the next question is from Anadi Sharma. She wants to know if the lead generation, if the lead generation is growing at such a high rate, why is F-commerce declining?
By F-commerce, I believe you mean social commerce, right?
The F-commerce
Right.
is the commerce through Facebook. I think the
Right.
integrated apps or the integrated stores on Facebook page, that has come down. So probably that's what she wants to point to.
Right. So I mean, the challenge with social commerce or Facebook commerce is that at times you should try to understand the way a customer or a target potential customer goes along the different channels in terms of how they really reach you. So I mean, typically today, I mean, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the way you would essentially reach or understand or learn about brands was through newspapers, or through mass media like television, or through billboards and other stuff. So what is happening now is that social media is replacing the newspaper. In some sense, you all log into social media every day, and you go and see what's new, what's happening in the world today. So I mean, social media is a good way of discovery today, but it is not necessarily the place where the transaction is happening. So what the kind of journeys which typically people will have is that they will first learn about your product through social media, and then they will go back and maybe search on it a few days later, and then come to your website, and then go ahead and maybe buy it from there. So the lead there, or the conversion there, get attributed to search, whereas social has had a very big play in getting that entire customers across the entire journey. So if you really want to understand the impact of social commerce and how Facebook is impacting the retail side, whereas the direct transaction is not happening, multi-channel attribution is something that you should look at. There are technologies to and algorithms to figure out whether somebody coming in from search really came in from search, or did he actually came in first via social, and then via maybe an ad, and then via search, and then how do you attribute that back to these different channels. So once you have a better understanding of that, I think the social commerce piece becomes a lot more clearer, because what you've seen is that the social media is not necessarily the last mile in terms of customer acquisition. It's a good lead building exercise, and people are now trying to understand how to use customer acquisition of the social channels on the website. But direct transaction on the social channel is something which is not to be done. I agree on that. And it's essentially the multi-channel attribution problem, as per my understanding.
Okay. Another question is asked by Apurv Parekh. He wants to know, what about Google Plus? We haven't used much example of it. I mean, internally, and I also would like to know internally with the organizations that you guys are working with, do you see an increase in the usage or in terms of the returns that businesses are getting, or is it staying stable, or where is it going in your view?
So Google Plus, is an important channel for most of our customers, and that's not necessarily because of their audience being present on Google Plus, but essentially because of the SEO advantage it gives you. So what people tend to do is they want to create a presence on Google Plus because that gives them a big jump in the SEO. So it's essentially an SEO strategy coming through social, but in terms of people engaging or getting traction from Google Plus directly, we don't see that coming out as a very important channel for those purposes. But from the SEO perspective, most of our customers want to have a presence on Google Plus today.
Got it. So that's where the Google Plus is. Okay, so before I take the next question, I'm just launching this another poll question in front of you. As Digital Vidya, we provide digital marketing courses. So if you're interested in doing a digital marketing course, just mention yes over here. If you're already participating, just mention already participating. So next question is from Ramya. She wants to know, Facebook is planning to remove sponsored stories. What does that really mean? So first of all, I mean, since most of their current revenue is through sponsored story when it comes to the mobile revenue, is it positive or negative for businesses, and how will it impact?
I think Facebook is, is rationalizing the different ad units that they have. Sometime back, they had large number of ad units, and one of the complaints that they were hearing from their partners is that it becomes very confusing for customers to really use them. So they are not necessarily, removing the social aspect of the ads or the ads in the newsfeed. They're just trying to rationalize that, and what we call sponsored stories is going to be, still there, but in some other form. So, I mean, just to give more background on Facebook ads, right? Traditionally, there were two kinds of Facebook ads. One was what was part of the news feed, and the other was what was on the right side, which were kind of display ads. And over time, Facebook realized that the display ads are not necessarily giving the advertisers the kind of returns that they were expecting, whereas ads in the news feed, or what they used to call social enabled ads, or suggested stories, or promoted stories, and all that, sponsored stories, are giving them a lot more traction. So, what they're now doing is creating simplified versions of their ad inventory, which becomes a lot more easier for customers to understand. So that ad unit will still be there, except that it will be named differently.
Okay. Okay, so another question is from Nadi Sharma. He wants to know, recently Facebook has launched the new streamline UI, and where apps are actually visible on stack under more section, for which preview is also not very prominent now. So is Facebook against lead generation or something? So what is in terms of the as a product, is it a significant change? Are you aware of this change?
So could you repeat that? Is it about Facebook brand pages and apps not being visible on the brand pages more prominently?
It's about apps are visible on stacked under more section, for which preview is not prominent.
Okay. Yes. So on the brand pages on Facebook, right? Facebook is now planning. I mean, if you go and talk to Facebook and say I want to build an app, they would discourage you from doing that. Essentially, and that's what their focus is now. What they're trying to promote is that apps is not the right way to engage with your customers, because the consistency of experience across different devices is not there, and it is a cumbersome process to create an app and run it and for a while. What Facebook says is that whatever you can do in the app, you can do in the newsfeed, or on the brand page. So go ahead and do that on the brand page versus doing that in the app, because app is essentially about primarily looking at engagement and all of these other aspects, whereas Facebook is now looking more on what's the real ROI of social media for our customers, and questions like that. So Facebook is definitely deprioritizing apps and asking or at least nudging marketers not to use apps in the way they used to be earlier.
Great. So that's particularly with regards to the on-page Facebook application that we are talking about. Great. So guys, if your question is actually not answered or if I've missed, if you've posted it some time back and if I missed it, you can just press the hand raise button, and if you have a mic working, I'll just unmute you immediately. Right. So there's a hand raise button in the control panel. You can just press that and I'll unmute you. So the next, there's a question from G. Tegin Math. How do you tailor your approach to new social media platforms that arise frequently? For example, Jelly and Instagram. So is there some specific approach wherein, and they keep coming on and off?
I think that's an excellent question. The challenge with social media is that new platforms keep coming in every day. So the way you should approach it is whenever a new platform comes up in your radar, look at whether your target audience is on that platform or not. And if they are not, just forget about it. But if they are and you want to engage with them, you should understand how the platform operates. For example, Instagram, right? It's a very popular platform, but the problem with Instagram is that you really can't have external links on any post. You can only have hashtags. So it ends up being an engagement channel, and it's not necessarily something to drive traffic to your website. So the way some brands approach it is that they would ask people for suggestions, or ask people promote more content and engagement there on the Instagram channel versus Facebook. So they would look at Instagram as something to enrich the community or to engage with the community a lot more, whereas Facebook, the KPI of our Facebook posts would end up being conversions or leads or the hard metrics. So look at Pinterest, right? So we've had customers who see Pinterest in a very different manner. What they say is that Pinterest, the way their audience interacts on Pinterest is that they end up pinning or creating collections of. So this is a clothing retailer, right? So they create collections of their material on the upcoming collections on Pinterest in different boards, and therefore this brand uses Pinterest as a means of releasing their upcoming collection even before it is launched, so people can go back and pin it on their boards. They understand, wow, this is the way it works, and this is what I really want, and they aspire for it. And then the actual collection is launched, they push that on Pinterest as well, and then people start converting through that. So each platform has its own nuances. It's hard to understand that, but the first thing that you should definitely do is look at whether your target audience is there, and if they are there, go deeper, spend some time on the platform as a user, get some experts to figure out how this platform works, and then go back and create a strategy around that.
Great. So if it's coming in the media consumption habit of your customer, that's it. Go ahead, or else it's not for you. Great. So there's another question from Satish Omega. Wants to know what are the main KPI that should be measured in order to know the reach of a company, i.e. is there any specific KPI that validates the company's reach through social media?
So I think if you look at Facebook, so Twitter, it's very hard to get a reach estimate because Twitter does not really give you a reach on every post. It's easier in Facebook, wherein you have, each post gives you a unique reach and impressions. So I think that's the reach that you should look at. Don't look at the number of fans as you reach, because that's a number which really doesn't mean anything for me. So look at reach in terms of each post, and that's essentially the reach that you have been able to achieve in your for your page.
Yeah, you've raised your hand. I've unmuted you. Is there a question? Rami, are you there? Okay, it looks like she's busy somewhere. So great. So that I think yeah. So Rami has a question: is promoting a video in social media better than YouTube? I think what she meant is promoting it on social networks is better than promoting it on YouTube. You have any views on that?
So there are two ways to look at it, right? One is if you put it on YouTube and then promote the link everywhere, you have all the consolidated analytics in one place on your YouTube video. Whereas what we've also seen is that if you natively post that video on the specific social channel, let's take Facebook, the reach and the engagement tends to be better than if it was posted on Facebook or on YouTube and then the link was shared. So yes, there is an advantage of directly putting it on the social network rather than putting it on YouTube and then sharing the link. In one line, definitely you should. I would encourage you to put it on the specific social channel and then share it on that channel itself. Yeah, but the problem there would be that you will have to collect the statistics, but that should be something at your end, and then you will end up getting a higher reach and engagement on your channel. And then a lot of it is also with the mobile strategy again, because a lot of this access happens on the mobile. The social networks have a lot more optimization around their own content being shared on the mobile versus some third-party content like YouTube coming in onto the mobile side.
Thanks. I think we've answered, I think, all the questions that have been posted so far. In case any of the question has not been answered, please raise your hand and we'll just... Ashish, you have raised your hand. I try to unmute you once. Yeah, Ashish, you're unmuted. You have any question?
Yeah. Hi. Thanks, Mohit, for sharing your insights, and thanks, Digital Vidya, for sharing all the insights that you've been sharing for last couple of meetings with in association with Adobe and other companies. I have a couple of questions, Mohit. The first question I have is: there any particular CPA that you have measured that is actually that you have measured with any industry, be it e-commerce, be it any social company or anything? Like, is there any CPA that you can put that as your goal? Is there anything, any benchmark that you have probably measured with any of your clients?
So, again, CPA is hard to, look at. For example, if you look at the example of Link, which I shared, their CPA came down from $100 to $20 when they optimized their posts and ads on Facebook. So CPA would make sense when you're doing ads, but when you're doing organic content, I know CPA really doesn't mean much, right? Because it's a post which is freely, put out, and then you have a fixed investment which you can maybe amortize over post, but I don't think that's the right strategy. But if you look at the ads, each product will have its own CPA. It's very hard to come up with a single number across different, even industry vertical, right? For example, if you look at retail, retail can go from a mobile phone versus, a travel retail, whereas, a very small book could have a different CPA. So, yeah, I mean, as long as the CPA is above your, customer acquisition cost from other channels, or below that, I'm sorry, so you should be good enough and good to go on social media.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mohit. Thanks a lot. One more point. If we are not exceeding the time limit, I guess it's still 4 or 5. May I ask one more
sure,
question?
You can go ahead. Sure, please, Ashish, go ahead.
Yeah, surely. Just wanted to know this application thing, which has evolved over last couple of years in social, in Android platform as well as in Apple. It's always been there in Apple iOS. What is the kind of complementary advantage that you can think the social has along with app? Like, is there any instance that you have seen that where application has an impact over social, where both the things have been integrated really well to create an impact for any particular brand? Is there any instance of that? Uh, like, have you seen anything with your clients?
So typically the way people so again if you get into that mobile app and the social strategy, that becomes a cross channel or omni channel strategy, right? So those kinds of campaigns do happen a lot, and the way that usually works is I've seen that happen along events wherein an event specific or a campaign specific app is created where people download it, and there are some tasks to be done on the app, and then you can use that to share it, on your social platform with your friends and things like that. But so these are there are definitely success stories on that, and we can get into more details on that. But the idea here is that the app itself should be valuable, right? Just creating an app and hoping people will share may not really work out. What you should look at is, will that app in a standalone way give value to my user that they will actually use it? And if yes, building social components on top of it is easier. But if you start with saying that I want people to share something and then in the hope that they will create something in an app, I'm not sure if that strategy works.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks a lot, Mohit. Thanks a lot.
Ashish. So guys, we have already exceeded with 7 minutes, so we'll just take the last question. And I'm unmuting Divya. Divya, you've raised your hand. Do you have any question? Divya, are you there? Looks like the mic is not working. So let's take this last question from Hardik Vora. He wants to know, can Twitter actually be used effectively to promote new products?
What? Pardon? Kapil, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question is, can Twitter actually be used effectively to promote new products?
No, which products? I'm sorry, I couldn't get the last adjective.
New
products. Okay. Yes. So obviously, Twitter has become the de facto place to break news stories, right? So a new product is in a sense a news story, and the challenge in Twitter is to reach your audience, in the most effective way. And a lot of companies today run hashtag campaigns, and the aim is to get in the top trending hashtags on Twitter, and then you will automatically get promoted or get people to look at you. And so you should look at what kind of product you're working on, and create an interesting campaign around it, and look at the number that you want to get in terms of the number of tweets and retweets, so that you're on the trending list for that day for that region. And once you do that, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of eyeballs, and you will reach a lot more people than you would ever reach, from Facebook in terms of an organic campaign. The good part about Twitter is that it is still you can reach to people who are not really part of your audience or followers, through hashtags and other search mechanisms, if you have the right content out. In Facebook, it is primarily limited to the audience that is following you. Twitter definitely has that advantage, and there are ways of promoting your content on Twitter, especially new products. They can have multiple case studies around that, which you should look up.
Great. So at this point of time, I really want to thank Mohit for a very, very interactive and insightful session. Personally, I have learned a lot, and I'm sure that's true for everybody. Within the next couple of days, we'll also be posting the recording of today's session. So if you've missed out any pieces of it, you can actually view it recording, or you can forward it to your friends. So that's it from today's session. Thanks a lot. Thanks everybody for your participation, and thanks Mohit for this session.